English language learning podcast. Our topic today in the headline episode is messy. Not Lionel Messi, but it's a messy topic, uma bagunça, tema, assunto difícil. This is not, it's a hard one to talk about. I chose it because of the title and because of the vocab in the English language element, but it is also an important and interesting topic, and I think it's polarizing. So, first we will read the headline, and then we will go on to read a few details from the article. It's from ESPN this time, not AP News, ESPN. And the article is very long with lots of details. So I recommend, if you're interested in the topic, I think it's a good place to read and practice your English if you want extended practice. It's also free, right? ESPN is free. So here we go. The headline: Deshaun Watson, and this is a name. It's an NFL player, Deshaun Watson. You can try and get the letters for phonetics practice, but it's not an English word. These are names. Deshaun Watson remains on track. Deshaun Watson remains on track. And again, Deshaun Watson remains on track. And again, Deshaun Watson remains on track. And one more time, and before I read one more time the headline, remember, for headlines, for these episodes, the intent, a pretensão, the objective is that you are getting listening practice, listening to actual spoken English, native or otherwise. I'm a native speaker of English. Yes, that's important. But any English, spoken English, is a lot different than people reading. So I believe that, yes, it's important for you to get lots of listening practice, and that's the intention. When we're doing the titles, the headlines specifically, you can write them down as dictation practice, and comprehension practice, and phonetic practice. And what does that mean? Well, the name, for example, Deshaun Watson. This is clearly a name that it's not going to be a word that you know, that you learned before, right? Maybe you heard the name, but this name has no meaning to you. Sem significativo. So why is this good practice for phonetics? Because you have to trust your ears. Tem que confiar nos seus orelhas, né? You have to just listen and try and connect the sound to letters in English, and how we use letters and the sounds that letters make in the English alphabet. Why is that important? Because the English alphabet is the same as the Portuguese alphabet. We just have different sounds for the letters. So you need to, when you're learning English, you need to be able to adopt the sounds in English to the sounds that you're hearing people make, right? And those, right, the place in the middle are the letters, or combinations of letters. So, one more time, the headline from ESPN by Jake Trotter: Deshaun Watson remains on track. And now we will read, to finish the segment, we will read a few sentences from the article. And then in the next segment, we'll break down the vocabulary. And at the end, finally, we'll talk about some questions and conversation. And I'm going to give you some direction in the beginning before I read. This is a topic about a professional athlete, a famous, rich professional athlete, a famous, rich, black professional athlete in the NFL, and sexual assault of many women. So for listeners who prefer to not listen to this topic, there you go. There's your spoiler alert. So here we go. Cleveland quarterback Deshaun Watson remains on track to start December 4th when his suspension ends, Browns general manager Andrew Berry said on Wednesday. Watson continues to serve an 11-game suspension for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy by committing sexual assault on massage therapists as defined by the NFL. On August 18th, 2022, the NFL and the NFL Players Association reached a settlement on Watson's 11-game suspension after he was accused by more than 24, more than 24 women of sexual assault and inappropriate sexual misconduct during massage sessions. Watson was fined $5 million and has had to undergo a mandatory treatment program as well. Watson also was banned from the team facilities from August 30th to October 10th, 2022. So we'll stop there. There are lots of more details in this story. A lot. I will try in the next segment, or rather in the question segment, I will try to give a resumo, to give a summary of the details, but I will not do great because there's many details here. But in the next segment, we will review some of the difficult vocab from the segments and from the pieces I read from ESPN. We're back for our vocab segment. We've read the headline, we've read some details from the article, and now it's time to explore the language, the English, before we explore the topic, right? Sexual assault, pro athletes, special treatment, contracts, and team decision making. But vocab first. So I chose the headline because of the expression to be on track. And they didn't say to be, but they said to remain. Deshaun Watson remains on track. What does that mean, on track? Like a racetrack? Track, what is that? What's going on? To be on track is to be on schedule. Estar no cronograma, right? To not be delayed. Sem atraso. To be on schedule. Not behind schedule, on schedule. And I think you say the same, right? To be on schedule translates exactly to estar no cronograma. And so to be on track is to be on schedule. To remain on track is to ficar, manter no cronograma. I don't know why that's so hard for me to say cronograma. It's the chrono that gets me. My brain wants to say chronograma, but the chrono. Oof. Conduct. Conduct. Where's our article here? Conduct. Watson continues to serve an 11-game suspension for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy by committing sexual assault. So personal conduct policy. But what does conduct mean? Conduct is comportamento, behavior, actions, the way you behave as a human. Assault, sexual assault, assalto. So this is usually physical. Some kind of contact or aggression, inesejado, right? Some contact that someone does not want. To reach a settlement. To reach a settlement. To reach a settlement. On August 18th, the NFL and the NFL Players Association reached a settlement on Watson's suspension. To reach a settlement is to fazer acordo. Fazer acordo. To come to an agreement. Usually between two parties who are fighting formally about something. A settlement is a word that we use in the legal arena for an agreement. Acordo. 24. Duzias. To undergo. to undergo. Watson was fined. Ele foi multado. Fined. Fined. Yeah, same as, hey, how are you? Fine, how are you? Fine is the nome, uma multa, fine. Fined is the multar. No passado, multou. Um, or in this case, foi multado. Watson was fined $5 million and has had to undergo a mandatory treatment program. So to undergo is to experience, to do, to do. Usually for example, we use this for surgery a lot. Cirurgia, to undergo a surgery. So it's like do, but you're not. The idea kind of is that there's some pressure or some reason that you're doing it, and it's not it's not for fun. You don't undergo something for fun. You undergo it because someone told you you need to do it. It could be for your health, right? Surgery. I had to undergo a surgery because I was sick and the doctor told me I needed to undergo a surgery. Or in this case, a treatment program. Now, what kind of treatment program is this? I have no idea what kind of treatment program someone gets for, and I'll give you the details of some of his sexual assaults, but well, why not now, right? One of the accusations. This is our last vocab word, by the way, and after this is the question and conversation segment. So, what were the accusations? It says sexual assault, but that could be a lot of different comportments or comportamentos or behaviors. So, what did this guy, Deshaun Watson, do exactly? From what I had read, Deshaun Watson, and again, there are many accusations, so many of them are very similar. But what I had heard, and I'm comfortable saying this publicly because uh, he was not cleared of this in court, and I'm confident in the recollection of the facts. Deshaun Watson was receiving private massages from massage therapists, not team massage therapists, as far as I can recall, but massage therapists that he would contract. But they were at team facilities, and he would make sexual advances during the massage sessions. What does that mean? In some cases, it means uh, uh, moving his body so that his penis would start touching the massage therapist, at which point there would be confusion and obviously fear and intimidation being felt by the massage therapist. Always a woman. Coincidentally, it's always a woman. And in at least one example, I had read that the incident was that Deshaun Watson started masturbating in the room and finished, and expected the massage to just continue. So that, I mean, that this is the type of thing, sexual misconduct. That's the when we use the word sexual assault and sexual misconduct, those words are hiding, escondiendo os detalhes mais um, horríveis. The horrible details here, I think, are important because they're clearly, when accusations like Dani Alves right now in Barcelona, Brazilian football player, um, has been accused of, it's not exactly clear what specifically, but I think estupro. He's been accused of rape and sexual assault in Barcelona. I'm reading this on the 23rd of January. When people read that, some people ignore the story. Some people think, "Oh, that is horrible. What a criminal. This disgusting dude." Some people, a lot of people, think, "Oh, this is just a woman trying to get paid, trying to take advantage of a rich guy, vulnerable rich dude." But I don't know many of the details of Dani Alves' story, but I do know Dani Alves has told many different stories about the incident. So that's not a good sign, and it's certainly not reliable or confiável when you have many different stories from one event. But why am I saying this? Deshaun Watson has been accused of more than 2 dozen women, and many of them have almost the exact same story. Um, so, yeah, this is not something that it's almost statistically impossible for this to just be a bunch of women trying to get money out of a rich athlete. But we will talk about more details of this in our next segment, questions and conversation. We're back for our final segment, the questions and conversation from the article about Deshaun Watson being or remaining, ficando, mantendo, remaining on track. The details were not great. NFL superstar, famous, rich athlete, young, on top of the world, was accused maybe 2 years ago of sexual assault, sexual misconduct. We read or we reviewed some of the details. They're messy, they're gross, but 24 or more than 24 women have accused him of sexual assault. The story is about his suspension and his dealings, his negotiations with the NFL to come back and play again. Spoiler alert, he does come back and play again. I'm reading this in the future after the article was written. So this is from November 2022. I am doing this episode in January 2023. First question: how do you think sports leagues should handle athletes that have serious allegations about their personal life? How do you think sports leagues should handle athletes that have serious allegations in their personal life? Or I should say personal lives, because athletes was plural. How do you think sports leagues should handle athletes that have serious allegations in their personal lives? So what do you think? Right, it's one thing to be accused and convicted of a crime. It's another thing, unfortunately, to be accused, and fortunately, I guess, to be accused and convicted of a civil crime. It's another thing to be accused and not convicted of a civil crime. And it's still another thing to be accused and in the process of investigation and tribunais of civil crimes, right? In this case, there is no criminal. There were criminal charges or investigations, but those did not last long in Texas. There are civil cases still happening. Some of the civil cases have been resolved, but there are still some that are unresolved. And so, yeah, what do you think sports leagues should do about this? And what do they do in Brazil? If someone has been accused, it doesn't have to be sexual assault, too. It could be, a player gets in a fight at home, of domestic abuse. It could be, drinking and driving. It could be, there's so many things that happen to people outside of their workplace. And so, how do you think sports leagues should handle athletes that have serious allegations about their personal life? In the U.S., it really depends. All of this depends on the details, on how bad the publicity is expected to be for the team, how bad the reaction is expected to be by the fans and by the entire public, not just the fans, but the whole public. So, yeah, let me try this in Portuguese. O que você acha as ligas esportativas deve fazer, ou como você acha as ligas deveria lidar com atletas que têm alegações sérias nas suas vidas pessoais? How do you think sports leagues should handle athletes that have serious allegations in their personal life? Again, I'm making the distinction: allegations, alegações, and convictions. Let me check again for conviction. Conviction. Let me think. Not acusado. Oh, fuck. That's gonna bother me. Let's go to our conviction. Convicção? No, condenação. Condenação. Conviction in Portuguese is about belief, right? Confidence and belief. No, conviction in English is more about, in this case, condenação, condemnation. So, difference between someone who's been condemned, right, convicted to prison for a crime, especially a criminal act, and an allegation, right? Allegations are very common. People say things, rumors happen, people lie. Also, people find out things that are private that become public. Sometimes those things get investigated. Sometimes those things and those investigations usually are very slow. What do you think about conviction or allegations about personal lives and athletes? The next one: how do you think sports leagues or teams should handle athletes who have serious civil liability, but not any criminal conviction? So kind of the same, an extension of the first questions, but more specific to civil liabilities, not criminal liabilities. Now, I'm going to change that from criminal conviction to criminal liability, meaning not that someone has been convicted civilly, but someone has some serious civil problems. It could be a lawsuit, processamento for reasons, right? In Brazil, it could be racism. It could be something horrible like that. It could be um, something related to how people treat their workers, right? Pro athletes have lots of relationships and client and are have lots of massage therapists, house cleaners, all kinds of things that could, and interactions that could end up or arrive to a civil allegation about something. Well, what did he say? He said this or he did that. So, how do you think sports leagues or teams should handle athletes who have serious civil liability but not any criminal liability? Como você acha as ligas esportivas e times devem lidar com atletas que têm problemas sérios civis, mas não criminais? Our next question: do you think you would ever ditch or abandon or leave your favorite sports team because they knowingly accepted a horrible human being on their team and actively tried to deny the allegations against the athlete? So do you what how strong are your allegiances to your sports team? What would make you leave your team and say, I'm done? I'm not I'm not talking about on the field, right? I'm not talking about coaching or players making a mistake. I'm talking about off the field. Where would you draw the line for saying, I'm done? I'm not watching this team anymore because they support this person and this person is toxic. This is wrong. What kind of things? Have you ever done that before? Have you ever ended your sports fandom of a team because of something, some kind of moral conflict? Um, again, in this case, right, there are some people maybe who look at the Cleveland Browns and say, fuck this, man. I'm not going to follow this team anymore if they are willing to hire a guy for a lot of, not a discount even. They didn't get a discount on him. They paid more. And I'm not joking. They paid more for him than other teams would have paid. Eles, eles pagaram ele mais que os outros times ia pagar. Uh, até sabendo dessas coisas criminais ou não criminais, né? Esses processamentos. So some fans look at this and they go, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this team. It's been my team forever. I was a Cleveland Browns fan for my whole life, but you know what? They're hiring a guy who sexually assaulted what 25, 26 women, doing masturbating in front of them when they rejected his sexual advances in a professional setting. Fuck that. I'm not watching this team anymore. I'm changing teams or I'm done with the sport. And some people say the opposite. Screw this. My team is not about morality. My team is about winning, and I don't care if my team has a murderer on the team, but I expect them to always try and win no matter what. And if they can get a serial sexual assaulter who's great at American football, then go ahead. Fuck it. I don't care about off the field things. So in Brazil, right, we got a lot of athletes that are easily hateable. I hate Neymar. I've always hated Neymar because the motherfucker just falls down all the time when he's playing sports. Like, just stop falling down. Stay on your feet, man. But I hate him because of that. But he had rape allegations, which I think were resolved. When I say resolved, I mean they're not. There's no, as far as I can tell, there's no legal repercussions or processes because of those rape allegations. Estupro, right? Rape. Danny Alves now is another one. He's kind of an older dude now, but Danny Alves just this weekend this year. I think the allegations were made public this weekend, but recently accused of rape in Barcelona. Robinho, right? Jesus, Robinho, those kind of things were terrible to read about. I don't know many others. There's what's the guy's name? Bruno, that kidnapped his wife and killed her. Bruno Robinho was it rape allegations in Italy. There's a lot of other sports too, right? I mean, Conor McGregor. If you go to UFC, there's a lot of terrible. There's a lot of people with terrible histories in the UFC and boxing. Floyd Mayweather. Pick it anywhere. I mean, any profession. It doesn't have to be sports, right? It's not. I'm not picking on professional athletes. It's you go into a marketing agency, you're gonna find a lot of people that have had some people I should say that have bad histories. You're going into a garage or a mechanic, you're gonna find people. You go into an English school, you're gonna find people. So, but fans have teams that they love and that they are committed to and they spend money on. And so, do you what do you think about your team allegiance and your fandom and morality? Would you ever leave your team for something like this? Like, hey, don't sign this guy because it's horrible what he's done and what he's been accused of, and we shouldn't do business like this. Let's try this in Portuguese. Você acha que você abandonaria? That's a hard one. Abandonaria seu time do futebol ou qualquer esporte porque eles, com conhecimento, ciente de tudo, aceitasse humano horrível no time e ou também estava recusando as alegações contra o atleta. So again, do you think you would ever ditch, ditch? Do you think you would ever ditch or abandon your favorite sports team because they knowingly accepted a horrible human being on their team and actively tried to deny the allegations against the athlete? I should say now that the Cleveland Browns have tried to, in their marketing schemes, show or represent Deshaun Watson, the o acusado, the accused, as being a good person. So they're defending him, is what I'm saying. Not as a athlete, but as a human being. Even though he has 26, whatever, more than 2 dozen accusations of sexual assault. Next question. What are some things that might make you abandon your sports team fandom? So, not just professional athletes, but what are some things in general that would make you go, I'm done with this team? I'm done with this team. I'll go first. For me personally, I'm a Lakers fan. I'll never be a fan of another NBA team, but what would make me stop watching the Lakers? Management. Bad, prolonged bad management where they're abusing fans and not seriously trying to win. And that happens in sports where you have teams. I don't, again, not maybe not in Brazilian sports. Our sports leagues have different structures. Our sports teams have different structures, right? In the U.S., they're operated much more like a business than in Brazil. Um, but yeah, if one of my sports teams were, it was clear to me that they were not really investing in winning, because there's a difference in sports. There's a difference between winning and making money. You can make money, especially in the American Football League, in the especially in the National Football League. It's not called the American Football League. Especially in the National Football League, you can make a lot in the NBA too. You make a lot of money. You don't need to win. I mean, it's almost exclusive. You really do not need to win at all, and you will make money on your investment. So, um, in Brazil, what are some things, right, that might make you abandon your sports team fandom? Um, or is there nothing? Maybe there's nothing, and you will never abandon your sports team. But let me know what you think. Next question. Portuguese. O que são algumas coisas que talvez te forçar a abandonar o seu time esportativa? Our next question. Do you think that sports needs villains, bad guys? Would sports be the same if everyone were lovable? Are bad guys good for sports? Do you think sports needs villains? Você acha que os esportes precisa vilões? I don't know if I said that correctly. Vilões. Um, Você acha que os esportes seriam o mesmo se todo mundo fosse amável? Right? Do you need some kind of bad dudes? Not necessarily bad character or bad morality, but do you need a bad guy in your league for interest? Rivals? Do you need there to be a team like the New England Patriots that everybody fucking hates, for the sport to be exciting? The NBA recently, almost always, is the Lakers. People love to see the Lakers lose. Recently, it's been the Golden State Warriors. Some people fucking hate Steph Curry and the Warriors, and they watch because they want that team to lose. What do you think in Brazilian sports and sports in general? Do you think there needs to be bad guys or girls, in the USA? I think in the Olympics, the USA, if you're not American, might be the ultimate bad guy in sports. Like they got 350 million people, lots of money. Let's go fucking beat these guys. This is the bad guys from from the Mighty Ducks. They have money and power, and the team they're playing doesn't. And so we want the small underdog, right? The not the favorite. We want the underdog to beat them. So what do you think? Do sports need villains? Would sports be the same if everyone were lovable? And finally, let me one more thought on that, right? So I have a little girl and she's not playing sports yet, but like if you go to I have a little sister. I've been around little people playing sports. It's amazing. And so that would be an example. Everyone's lovable. You watch a you watch 5-year-olds play soccer, play football, and they're all lovable. There's no bad guys, typically, right? There's no bad, oh, we got to beat that fucking team. Like, no, it's just fun to watch little people run around and play the game. Um, are there diehard fans of 5-year-old 5-year-old football? No. Is it still exciting? I think so. I do. I do. I think it's entertaining. So that would be the other end of the extreme. Little kids playing sports is very entertaining, even though there's no bad guy. Our last question: who are the biggest villains in Brazilian sports history? The biggest villains. I don't necessarily mean, bad morality, but just on the field or off the field. Who are the biggest villains? Quem são os vilões grandíssimos na história de esportes brasileiros? Who are the villains in Brazilian sports history? I can think of some in American sports history. Tom Brady. Tom Brady. I promise you, man, everyone hated that. Maybe not anymore, but everyone hated that guy. Mike Tyson was a villain. Mike Tyson was a villain for even Muhammad Ali was a villain in the beginning for talking too much, and being a Muslim eventually. Right, he was a villain. Other villains in sports history in Brazilian sports. I don't know any villains in Brazilian sports history who everybody hates. So, who are the biggest villains? Who are the biggest bad guys or girls in Brazilian sports history? We'll do female sports too, right? In college basketball, university basketball, UConn, Connecticut. Why were they a villain? Because they always fucking won. They won all the time. That's when people start to hate you in the U.S. If you win too much, we hate you, unless you're Team USA. And we will end the episode on that today. The biggest villain possibly in all of sports history, Team USA. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you aproveitou. I hope you enjoyed the episode of the language learning podcast, the English language learning podcast. If you have any questions or doubts, you can send them to me. Again, these episodes are supposed to expose you, to give you more English language content to listen to, and to practice actively at home if you want to, or in the car, speaking answers to questions, talking to yourself. You're supposed to be practicing English if you want to use it, not just, writing answers to exercises on paper. That's not bad, but you need a lot more than that. So please engage with the podcast. I hope you enjoyed.